on Long's Hill. Sounds like a detective story.
Balls of fire are erupting and the couch lights on fire.
I don't think there was fire, and I wouldn't swear on a stack of Bibles in the meantime.
Welcome to Tales Under the Cat Tree. I'm your host, Dupes, and these are tales by humans for humans. After all, words and stories are what give meaning to the worlds we live in. This is a special New Year's episode of Tales Under the Cat Tree. There's been a mystery I've been trying to solve for some 30 years now. What happened on New Year's Eve, 1994, at the house on Long's Hill in St. John's, Newfoundland? Did a couch actually get on fire and hit a house? Were the police called? Did the story make it on Canadian national radio? Did people actually get hurt? And what happened to that couch anyway? See, over the years, the story of the Long's Hill couch slide has become legend amongst my friends, and even amongst those who don't know us. It's a story that has grown and changed with each telling. So I went to some of the original people, including people who had heard the story from others at that time. Now, Mark was actually at the event in question. So here's how that house came to be, according to Mark.
Aaron and Mike, as far as we could tell, decided they needed a place to have parties that wasn't somebody's house. So they rented an apartment on Long's Hill and sparsely furnished it, and may or may not have spent any time there other than to party. And
here's the Aaron in question.
We rented it at a reasonable rate downtown, and then rents were super dirt cheap. I think we were like, I don't know, $500 a month or something like that. It was pretty reasonable.
Now, for those that don't know St. John's, as a town, it's a pretty hilly place, with some streets being quite steep, especially in the downtown area. Long's Hill just happens to be one of those streets. The house we're talking about is at the top of this hill. What we do know about the house is that the parties were epic. Let's go back to Mark.
That people decided to get up into the attic, and they fell down through the attic, through the ceiling, onto the third floor of the house, like in a movie, just collapsed out of the ceiling.
Be that as it may, eventually the lease on this house was coming to an end, and it would come to an end on New Year's Eve. Let's hear Mark's version of how that eviction party was framed.
At some point, it became clear that lease was ending. This became known amongst the circle of friends as the eviction party. We were given to understand they weren't getting their damage deposit back anyway, so fuck it. Let's have a big party and not worry about the damage deposit. That's how it was framed to all and sundry in my recollection.
And this is where the tales diverge and the mystery begins. First, let's hear how Aaron recalls what he and Mike intended for that evening.
Our last hurrah on New Year's Eve downtown, we figured that would be a good opportunity to get some of the heavier items that we were trying to move. And there was one particularly heavy hide-a-bed couch that was like metal and really heavy. A friend of Mike's down at the bottom of the hill wanted it.
Now, the placement and motivations for this and of this couch and what might have occurred when seems a bit confused. For example, here's Andrew's version.
I can neither confirm nor deny what really happened. However, I have been told that they took the door off the hinges, took the legs off the couch, brought it outside, and were sitting around drinking high-proof alcohol.
Mark, on the other hand, who happened to be there, would dispute the notion of there being any plan around this couch except to murder it on a slide.
Someone had the idea, we should go slide. Of course, the problem is we had no slides, but then we got the great idea, well, let's just use the couch from the living room. So we got the couch out of the house, down over a flight or two of stairs. It was a small row house on Long's Hill.
But let's get back to the semi-official account from Aaron.
So we figured it was pretty reasonable. Get a few people and we carry the couch down, deliver it. It was like, many hands make light work and all that. We left it a little bit too long, and I think a few too many tips of the tequila bottle before we asked people to help move it out. And so by the time we got it out on the sheet ice of frozen stuff going all the way down this steep hill downtown, I was like, we're going to fall down and someone's going to get the couch on the head and they're going to die. Like, we got to find a safer way. So I had a great big toboggan. So I put the couch on the toboggan and figured that way people couldn't fall and squat themselves with the couch. And since you're going down the hill and there's a couch, you might as well sit on the couch. But I just have one very clear memory. We had a pink flamingo that we had nicknamed Felipe, and a sombrero hat on the front of the couch. And we sort of luge style started pushing it down the hill until we got up a bit of speed, and then we all jumped on it. It was actually gaining a bit of momentum. And I remember having a very sobering thought in the midst of my pink flamingo waving that this couch wasn't likely to stop for anything.
Now, you might note that no matter which version of this story we follow, on the topic of spectacularly bad ideas, whether on a lark or whether to perform furniture deliveries, you might agree with me that sliding a giant couch down an icy hill in midwinter may not have been the brightest of ideas.
And so as we started to pick up speed, it looked like there's a house about maybe a third of the way down the hill that sticks out a lot further than the rest of them. And it looked like we weren't going to quite clear the back corner of that house. And so I got them to lean to the side, and we managed to sort of point the front out a little bit. So it looked like we might going to do it, but we were on ice, so we started side slipping. And so we weren't going to do it. And then at the last second, we were careening into the side, and we hit the house about halfway along the concrete foundation and came along, skidding along fine until we hit their water spout. And we went clang, and the whole couch spilled over, and everyone spilled out onto the sidewalk. And the whole spout went, got up right away to see if everybody was okay. No broken bones, nobody concussed. Everybody was okay. And I figured that we'd just cut our losses for a bad try. It was faster to get the couch back up than it was to get it down. So everybody just lift the couch up. And then we're in the middle of organizing getting the couch back up the hill. Buddy comes out of the house screaming bloody murder because we broke his house. God darn it. He was fit to be tied, and he'd already called the cops. So I just got him calmed down. Yes, I'll replace it. Yes, we'll fix it to your satisfaction. We're sorry, it was an accident. Just got him calmed down, and the police showed up, and I had to explain the whole thing again to the police. And then he was okay with my promise to fix it. So the police had bigger fish to fry. So they went on.
Mark's version is slightly shorter and slightly different in its details.
A half a dozen people got on this couch, gave it a push, and it went sliding down Long's Hill for 50 or 100 feet before careening into a neighbor's house and tearing some siding off, etc., etc. And then everyone scattered. It is my recollection that the couch stayed where it was. Mike ended up paying reparations to the neighbor to avoid the police getting involved. As far as damages go, yeah, that's the story. It's pretty, the ridiculousness of a half a dozen people sliding down a couch in the middle of St. John's, I guess, is why it's achieved its legendary status.
Or could it have been much more like the story that's been repeated over and over again, as Andrew tells us?
As Aaron was involved, there had to be fire play and fire eating and all of this. So somewhere along the way, while the snow is falling gently on Long's Hill, balls of fire are erupting and the couch lights on fire. In order to get it away from the house, they give it a shove. Well, some of the people are still sitting and drinking on it. I think Mannion was still on the couch. He stands to go, but off the couch goes. Flames in the air, scooting straight down Long's Hill. Where the couch ended up, I don't know. But this is the story, and I'm sure it's absolutely true.
Based on these accounts, I don't know if I'll be any the wiser on what actually happened. Sure, Aaron's version sounded pretty accurate. But so did Mark's. And to be absolutely fair, every single person I talked to gave me a slightly different version. However, they all had one thing clear. Aaron was insistent the only way to get to the truth was to have Mike present. Mark and Andrew and others all cited the presence of Mike on that night to give me the true story. Now see, amongst my friends, Mike has put up with more of my many crazy ideas than pretty much anyone I can think of. And over the years, I've come to trust him as quote-unquote Wiki Mike. If there is anyone who can tell me what happened that night, obviously I needed to go and talk to Mike. which is exactly what I did next. Everyone has said that the apartment that you had was both yours and Aaron's and was leased in order for you to have parties.
Maybe that was the original intent, but that's pretty much what happened, yeah.
And on the night that we're talking about, which was New Year's Eve 1994, I believe.
Correct.
There was a couch incident. And every single person has told me that I need to talk to you because you have the definitive story of what happened with this couch.
That may or may not be true. Probably not true.
And why isn't it probably not true?
Because I was not there for the majority of the incident. I was at a gig at Star of the Sea Hall that night. I came back to the apartment. This would be late. It was New Year's Eve or New Year's Day early, so well after midnight. My memory is limited, but I think I was told that they had rode the couch down the hill.
So it is not actually true that you are the person who sorted out all the problems once the couch hit the house in question?
That's absolutely not true.
So what happened to this couch afterwards?
I mean, it must have been brought back up the hill because the couch ultimately wound up next to my parents' house because we moved out. Like we were moving out that day. That was our last night in the house. The couch wound up dumped near my parents' house where it stayed for a bit, I think, until my mom got annoyed with me and we got rid of it.
So do you have any recollection as to why this couch would have been used to go sledding down a hill?
I don't think I can answer that in any logical way. Because it sounded like a strange thing to do.
So I guess, in the end, maybe we will never know the truth of what happened that night with the couch down Long's Hill. However, there is a glimmer of hope. Aaron and others do recall that somehow this story ended up being phoned into Canada's national radio network at CBC. Maybe somewhere deep in the archives of CBC, there is a recording that gets to exactly what transpired. If anything, all I learned from this, other than laughing a lot, is that as usual, witnesses are terrible and our memories extremely fickle when it comes to facts, especially the facts we decide to keep and the facts we decide to make up. Thank you very much to Marc Dyke, Aaron McKim, Andrew Smith, and Mike Mannion. I hope no one is doing literal couch surfing this new year, and you all have a brilliant year ahead. I will be back on January the 12th on a regular Monday schedule with the podcast. It's been fun doing a couple of offbeat episodes. In the coming year, I'm looking forward to treating you to some amazing interviews, some great new stories, both fiction and nonfiction, and delving deeper into the stories that make us human. Until then, be safe and give your pets a cuddle. If you enjoyed this or any other episode, please help me grow my listenership by subscribing or sharing. Happy New Year. Hyvää uutta vuotta.